Okie dokie, let's go to our grammar books, and we are on page 67. Page 67. Okie dokie, talking about homophones again. Remember that word has two parts to it. Homo means same and phone means sound. So that's how you know what it means. It's the same sound, even though they're spelled differently. By the way, in English, we have several of those. That's why English sometimes is really hard to learn. But at the end of that first paragraph right there, you have the words two, and two. And they all sound exactly the same, but they're spelled differently and they mean different things. So it depends on how it's used in the sentence. So to right here is a preposition. You guys already know about prepositions. And or it says a part of an infinitive. To the left is a preposition. That's a prepositional phrase, to the left. To escape is called an infinitive because escape is a verb. So whenever you have the word to next to a verb, it's called an infinitive. And we'll learn more about this as we go. So just know that that's what that is. So to the left or to escape. TWO is a number. You probably already knew that. 2 soldiers is the same as the number 2, like 1, 2 soldiers. And then TOO is an adverb meaning also or to an excessive degree. Had it to or too long. Like if your brother has a cold and you had it too, that means you had it also. Or the drive to Las Vegas was too long, like it took too long, right? So that just means excessive. So those are the 3 twos. In this book, you're going to notice they put the wrong one there on purpose. It's for you, lucky you. You have to figure out which ones are wrong. And you're just going to draw a line through it, like this example here. And then you write the correct word above it. So the sentence says, 2 palace guards ran up to the princess. And this should be the number 2, not TOO. TWO, 2 palace guards ran up to the princess. Notice they underlined it because it is a prepositional phrase. TO is a preposition. And then here you also label it an adjective for TWO because it's telling how many. That's one of the rules for adjectives, is like which one and how many or what kind, those kinds of questions. So 2 palace guards tells how many, so that's an adjective. We're also talking about quotation marks. That's when somebody is speaking in the story. And that happens a lot, especially with the little red hen. We're going to practice using quotation marks today as we write more of the story. So it indicates words are spoken. So it's called a quote. When somebody speaks, it's called a quote. I want the gold. That's what she is saying. It's the princess, right? It's what she's saying. I want the gold. The word attribution means who is speaking and how they're speaking. So it says the princess declared. So we know it's the princess is the one speaking, and the declared is the verb that tells how she's saying it. So quote and attribution, those 2 are important to know. And then there's a few comma rules and punctuation rules that go with writing a quote. So if you skip down here where it says attribution, comma, quote, when the attribution comes first, you put a comma and then you put the quote. Like if this one was backwards and it said the princess declared, I want the gold, because you can switch them around either way. If the attribution comes first, you put a comma and then the quote. And notice the period right here is inside the quotation mark. That's something that you need to remember when you're writing these. Here it's reversed. the quote is first. So you put quote, comma, attribution. Notice how that comma is on the inside of that quotation mark. Any punctuation you use with quotes goes on the inside always, okay? I used to forget that, but now I know. Here, if it's a question, this is showing you a little bit different. So attribution, comma, quote with a question mark, look how it's inside that quotation mark there. Or if the quote comes first, quote, question mark, and then attribution, you don't need a comma there. And then same with exclamation point, attribution, comma, quote with an exclamation point, or quote, and then attribution. So the best thing to do is to come back to this page if you need to when you're marking it in your homework, because these are the rules you'll need to remember on how the punctuation goes with a quote. And then at the very bottom is an example. The soldier exclaimed, comma, the princess took it, exclamation point. This is the attribution, the soldier exclaimed. Remember, that's the attribution. That's who's speaking and how they're saying it. He exclaimed, comma, and then the quote, the princess took it with an exclamation mark inside that quotation mark. I know it's a lot to take in, but do you guys have any questions about this page? Okay, good. There's nothing on the back. That's nice. Let's go on to the practice page then. This is page 69. And how about the birthday boy, Peter? Can you read the sentence for us?
The soldier observed the princess for too long.
Good. Okay, so you probably already noticed because you paused for a second that that's the wrong two, huh? That's the number 2. That doesn't make sense. Let's fix that, shall we, Peter? How do we spell this kind of 2?
T-O-O.
There you go, T-O-O. We might as well just fix that right away because it looked weird. And then we have the word observed as our vocabulary. Does anybody know how to explain what that means? What is observed? JC?
It's like to watch something carefully or something.
Yes, perfect. I like that definition. Watched carefully. And then you know what to do here. We'll write these in and then go ahead and find them by yourself, the 2 articles. Okay, and then Easton, where are the 3 nouns? There's 3 of them here.
Soldier,
Yep, oops, that's one.
princess,
Yes. Yeah, the third one's weird.
long,
Yeah, you're right, because we knew it's not observed, that's an action. And we know it's not for, that's a preposition. So that was a good way to determine which one it was. So because this is a prepositional phrase right here, that makes long a noun. Good. And we're going to come back to the prepositional phrase. Okay. So, JC, we only have one verb in here. What's the verb?
Observe.
Good. That's the verb. And then JC, who is the subject?
The soldier.
Good, because it's the soldier that observed the princess. That's good. So we did that. Now, Peter can tell us where the prepositional phrase is.
For too long.
Good, for too long. Starts with for, that's the preposition. There's nothing on top of it. And it stops on a noun, just like that. Okay, Easton, where does the capital go?
first word,
Huh?
on the first word.
On the first word. So the needs a capital. And then JC, how about the end mark?
A period.
Good. And we already fixed the homophone. That was the word two. So we can put a check mark on that. That was pretty easy today. So watch out for those two words, the words two. They're going to do it wrong on purpose. So you got to figure out the right way to spell it. So later, write this down at the bottom, and then your homework will be pages 70, 71, and 72 for grammar. Okay. I like it when they're easy lessons. Okie dokie. Go ahead and get out your binders, and we're going to look at the little red hen. So go ahead and take out everything from the little red hen and your paragraph that you have and your keyword outline, or no, it's the story sequence chart. Take that out too. Okay. Oh, let's look first at your checklist though, because I want you to check your paragraph that you did for homework. I haven't had a chance to grade it yet. I will. Look at your paragraph if you can right now and make sure that you have 3 words underlined. You should have ly, who or which, and a strong verb. If you see those 3 words underlined, give me a thumbs up. Good. Good. Yay, you got those. And then just to check, make sure you did not use say, said, seesaw, think, thought, or go, went. These are the banned words. So kind of look over your paper and see if you see any of those words. If you do not see any banned words, give me a thumbs up. Good. That part's going to get a little tricky this week because there's a lot of speaking parts coming up between the hen and the cat and the rat and the pig. Everybody's talking to each other. I saw that, JC. So don't use said. That's a banned word. So you're going to have to get creative on how they talk to each other because there's a lot of talking parts in this. And then the title you're going to work on this week too, because remember, you work on the title when you're done with the last sentence of the 3rd paragraph. That's when you figure out what your title is going to be. You have to have at least 1 word in your sentence that matches the title. It says 1 to 3. Okay. Let's go back to your story sequence chart. Sounds like you guys are doing good. And I will be able to grade your homework and then give you some feedback between today and tomorrow. That's going to be what I work on, okay? Talking about the story sequence chart, let me just give you a little refresher here. We talked about characters and setting. That's always what we do first in a story like this. This is a narrative. It's called a narrative, where it's basically a made-up story. Obviously, animals can't talk or bake bread, right? So when you're telling a narrative story, this is the sequence. So we talked about characters and setting. We answered these questions: who, where, and when. What do we talk about next, usually, in a story like this? What is the next thing we talk about? Do you guys remember? Remember what to put there in that box?
Conflict and problem.
Yes, good, JC. Conflict. Go ahead and write it in on yours. And problem. Usually, a story has a problem. And you might think that sounds weird, but it makes it entertaining, actually, to have a problem. Because that makes it interesting. If nobody had any problems and everybody was just like, oh, we're having fun, everything's wonderful, and we don't have any problems at all, and this is a wonderful life, it would be cool, but it would be kind of boring, honestly, to read a story like that, because you're like, what's the point? Okay, you have a great life. I'm happy for you. That's good. But But when the character has an issue or a problem or conflict or something's going on, there's a battle, maybe they're lost or they're hurt or they are stuck somewhere. I don't know. That usually makes it more interesting, makes you want to read more because then you want to find out what happens. So this is where we answer the question, what? What is the problem? What is happening? What does the character need or want? Those are the what questions. And then somebody other than JC, because I have a feeling JC remembers, but see if one of you other guys remember. What do we talk about in the bottom box after the conflict and the problem? Then what, Peter?
The resolution.
The resolution. And then there was another word that we put with it. Do you remember the other word we had?
Climax.
There you go. I knew JC knew it too. I saw your hand go up. Climax/resolution. And that is where we answer how it was solved. How was the problem solved? Did he get unstuck? Did he find his way back home? Did he win the battle? And that word climax, you remember how we drew a mountain one time and there was a guy at the top and it was like, we don't know, like for this story, the little red hen, we know the answer, but the first time we read it, we didn't know if she was she gonna get to bake her bread or was she not gonna be able to have her bread? Was she gonna get the animals to get up and help her? Or was she gonna have to do it all by herself? I mean, that was the climax. Like we didn't know. That's what we're gonna focus on here in this part of the story. So back here, this is the next part, the conflict. And we know this story about the little red hen. What was the hen's problem? You can raise your hand if you know. What was her big problem in this story? Easton?
No one wanted to help her.
No one wanted to help her, and she just wanted a little help. She wasn't asking for much, but that was her problem. You're right. Is that what you were going to say too, Peter? Yeah, that was her problem. So we left off right here that they were in the barnyard and she found a wheat seed. That's where we left off. Okay. So now we have to transition from here, this paragraph, into the problem and the conflict. But first we need to talk about what did she want to do with that seed? Because that's going to lead into the problem, right? So we left off here talking about the seed. What was she wanting to do with the seed at first when she found it? JC?
You wanted to plant it?
She wanted to plant it. And then she eventually, what did she want to do with it after it grew and everything? What was the end result? What did she want, JC?
She turned it into bread.
To turn it into bread. Right. So that was her goal. So we'll put LRH here for the little red hen. Remember, that's what we're calling her in our outline here. She wanted to grow the wheat, and then I'm going to draw an arrow and put bread because eventually she wanted the bread. That's an A, by the way. There we go. The little red hen wanted to grow the wheat, and eventually she wanted to bake some bread. Okay, so here's where we start entering into the big problem that nobody wants to help this poor little hen. So let's look back on the original story. What is the first, I'll ask Easton, what is the first question she has about this seed? What is she asking first? It's right in this paragraph toward the end here.
She needed to plant the seed.
Yeah, and she's asking, who will plant the seed, right? She's asking, hello, out there on the farm, who will help me plant the seed? And maybe it was because nobody knew what she was planting. Maybe the pig and the rat and the cat were all kind of dumb. And they're like, why do you want to plant a seed? What good is that going to do? They weren't smart like the hen. The hen knew she was going to make some bread, but she didn't tell them the plan. She just said, I just need help planting the seed. And everybody said no. So let's do this. Let's put this in quotes here. And we'll put help plant and then a question mark and then the end quote here because she's talking now. Who will plant the seed? And then, of course, we know the answer. What did they say to her when she asked that? JC?
They kept saying not I.
They kept saying, not I, not I, not I, not I. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Up here in your Roman numeral 1, I want you to circle the C for cat, the R for rat, and the P for pig. Because that's going to help us in this outline without wasting our 3 words, right? Now we can put C, comma, R, comma, P, CRP. And they all said not I, but I'm just going to put no with an exclamation point. Because we know they all basically said no. And then Peter, after she asks who will help plant the seed later, okay, so she goes, fine, I'll do it. I'll plant it. So she plants it. And then she's asking for help again. What's the second thing she asks for? The next thing.
Who will thresh the wheat?
Yeah, but there's one right before that too, right here.
Cut the wheat.
There you go.
Cut
So
the wheat.
before we thresh it, yeah. So she's asking, so the plant grew, we'll put it grew, and then she's asking cut. And we'll put it in quotes because we know she's asking who will cut the wheat. It grew. And then she's asking who will cut. And then we have CRP. What did they say, Peter?
No.
Yes, exactly. They say not I, or we're just going to put no. All right, then at the bottom of that page, 65, the first page, what is the next question, Easton? What is the next question she asks?
Who will thresh the wheat?
Yes, who will thresh? Did you say something else? Okay. Do you guys remember what thresh means? Peter?
To like separate the part you can actually turn into like bread, and then the other piece that you can't eat.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to say it. And usually what farmers do is turn it into mulch. Have you heard of mulch before? Where you break it down and put it back into the soil, and it actually brings nutrients to the soil. But the stem and the leaves, the part of the wheat you don't eat, it just goes back into the ground. So you're right. That's how you do it. You take it apart. So she's saying, who will thresh I'm going to put a comma here because she's also asking right after that on the back of the page, after she threshes the wheat, what's the next question, JC, that she asks on the back? It's up
Who
here.
will carry the wheat to the mill grounds or
Yes.
to be grounds?
To be ground. So the mill is like the factory, right? Where they actually have machines that grind it up into a powder. So I'm going to put carry. I'm going to put thresh and carry together. And then, of course, we know the answer. C, R, P, no again. And then, Peter, what does she ask next?
Who will ground the wheat?
Yeah, we mentioned that, like carry it to the mill. After that, oh, this is where it's ready now. You know, it's got the flour's ready and stuff. This is where she asks who will make the bread. Yeah. Or bake it. I think that's a little more descriptive if we say who will help bake. Help. I'm going to put that. Help bake question mark. And then of course CRP. They still don't know what's going on. They still don't know. If they knew what was about to happen, I think they would have helped, but okay, notice how we have here on each one of these answers, they all say no, 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 no. Well, if we use no for each one, then it's kind of repetitive and kind of boring, right? So what we need to come up with is different ways for them to say no. So what I want to do right now is turn your page to the back side. And then I want you to write here different ways to say no. Different ways to say no. You guys have any ideas? Peter?
Grunted?
Okay, grunted. I know what you're thinking. That's a different way to say said. But I'm thinking of like, not I. That's what they say in the story, not I. Another one I thought of was, I kind of like this one. No way, Jose. Have you ever heard of that one before? No way, Jose. Or nope with a P. Nope. That's what I'm thinking, Peter, is like different ways to say no. Have you ever heard anybody? You got one, JC? Go ahead.
I forgot already.
That's okay. I was gonna say there's you could say Have you ever said that when you mean no? That would be spelled like UH. Or another one of my favorites. Sorry, Charlie. Sorry, Charlie. No way. Just some ideas. You might think of some other ways to say it, but we know that the characters say no, not I a lot. So if you change it up in your story, it kind of makes it more interesting to read. Peter?
Like no sir or no ma'am?
Yes, no ma'am. Let's put that. I like that. No ma'am. And I think that has an apostrophe in it. Isn't it like M-A-M? Let me see.
It's M-A''M-A''M.
Ah,
Like
M-A''A''M, like that? Good. Okay, thank you, Peter. No ma'am. JC?
Like, I'm good.
Yeah, I like that. That's kind of a polite way to say, I'm good. No, I'm not going to help you. I'm good. Peter?
Sometimes maybe, like, would maybe be one.
Well, that kind of makes you think that they're thinking about it, but I don't even think they're thinking about it. Or we could say something like, not right now. Right? Because they were all busy either sleeping or looking at themselves in the mirror. Okay, you get the idea. There might be others you think of. You can just add to the list later. Okay, but that'll help you when you get to this part where they're all saying the same thing. You can kind of change it up a little bit. Now, that's definitely her problem, right? There's lots of problems right here. Over and over and over again. So here we're moving into the climax and the resolution. So we're like, is she going to get help? Is she never going to get help? We don't know. And then how is it going to be solved? So at this point of the story on the back, after she's asking who will make the bread, and everybody says, not I. And then she says, I will. This is when she starts the process of making the dough. Have you ever made bread before? Has anybody ever made bread? Oh, Peter says yes. So how do you do that, Peter? What do you have to do to make the bread?
So like, you get the mix or like the wheat basically,
Uh-huh.
and or like this is how to make the batter. It's kind
Okay.
of like a cake or like a loaf. So you get the mix, and then you get like 2 eggs, some vegetable oil, and you start mixing those until it's like a smooth batter. Then you put it in like a glass tray, and you put it in the oven for 350 degrees for 64 minutes.
Yes. And I think what you're talking about maybe is like muffins or some kind of bread like that, like breakfast bread maybe. But have you ever made like sourdough bread or like wheat bread? Yeah, I've done it a couple of times in my life. I don't really enjoy making it, so it is a lot of work. But it says here, she set the dough, kneaded the bread, and divided it into loaves and put it in the oven to bake. So that word knead with a Knead, that means like squishing and squeezing and pressing, kind of like when you were little and you played with Play-Doh and you would kind of like squish it in your hands and stuff like that. That's what you do with the dough. So it's thick and a little bit sticky. So you got to put flour on your hands, and you're pushing and you're squeezing and you're stretching and you're rolling and pushing and squeezing. It's a lot of work. Like you get a sweat, work up a sweat making it. So that's what she was working on next. So I think what I'm going to put here is how she did that. She mixed the ingredients, right? I'm going to put mix. I'll put ED there, mixed and then kneaded. That is really important to do when you're making bread, because it's really getting all the ingredients to kind of come together. Not just mixing it with a spoon, but it's like you have to squeeze it and push it and all stretch it. And then that's what she mixed and kneaded the dough. And we know about cookie dough. I make cookies all the time because I love cookies. And my favorite cookie is chocolate chip, just the classic chocolate chip cookie. Peter?
I make pumpkin spice cookies.
That sounds good. Oh my gosh. I bet those are so good.
It's like a box, and there's like pouches of pumpkin spice mix. And it's like in the stores,
Oh,
like Aldi or something.
I'll have to look for that. That's kind of nice when they put it in a box for you. Really, you just open up the little bags. You might have to add the egg or something, or oil or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty fun. I bet those are good. Did it have frosting on it too? Oh, now you make me want one. That sounds really
It
good.
came with the It came with the frosting.
Oh, nice. Yummy. I want to look for that now. They do that with like Christmas cookies too. I've seen the box of Christmas cookies. Okay. back to this. So she's doing all the work. And while she's doing all of this, what is everybody else doing? Let's go through each character here. This is toward the end while she's kneading and stretching and pushing and mixing and getting this dough ready. And she's working so hard. What is everybody else doing? We'll start with the cat. So Easton, what is the cat doing toward the end here?
That lazily.
Sat lazily. Sat lazily by. By the way, that word lazily is actually a pretty good adverb. We could actually use that and underline it for our paragraph. So that would be handy if we put that there. So what if we did see and do a little dash and put lazily? And we'll remember either sat or laid lazily by, or lazily sat or lazily laid down, however you want to say that in your paragraph. And then JC, the next one we're going to mention is the rat. What was the rat doing?
Admiring himself in the mirror.
Admiring himself in the mirror. Silly rat. Maybe he was getting ready for a date or something. And he's like, I'm so handsome. I'm just like the most handsome rat there ever was in the whole wide world. Look at me. I'm just going to put mirror and we'll remember what he was doing. And then what about Peter the pig? What was the pig doing?
He was snoring.
Snoring. P dash snoring. Good for nothing, right? Basically. Peter?
I wonder where the rat got the suit, like, and the tie.
I know. And the powder for his nose. Remember, he was like trying to make his face like handsome or something. I don't know what he was doing. I wonder too. Okay, so then she's got this stuff. She's got the bread in the oven now. And then the smell comes out of the oven, right? Do you remember what word it was they used to tell how the smell got carried out? Remember that word? It's toward the bottom on the back. Peter, you remember?
It wafted.
Wafted. I think that's such a cool word. We don't use it very often. Remember, this is an old story, but I think that's a cool word. It's a verb. It's what it's doing. So I think the smell, let's put smell, and it was delicious, I'm sure. Wafted. And then animals, because it was all these guys, but it was like all the animals in the farm could smell it now. Because it was carried out on the breeze. And now, Easton, what was the final question that she asked everybody? This was kind of a trick question, I think. So Easton, what does she say at the end?
Who wants to eat the bread?
Who wants to eat the bread? So we can say, help eat. Now remember, eat is a banned word. I'm going to put it in the outline here, and that's okay. It's not banned here. But when you go to write this, you're going to have to come up with a different word. I think it's banned, right? Let me check. I think it is. Oh, just kidding. Eat is not a banned word, so forget everything I just said. That's a different class, it is. You can use eat. It's okay. It might be banned later. There's a kind of a sneak peek, but okay. So help eat. And then Easton, what did they all say? When she asked, who will help me eat the bread? Easton, what did they say?
They all said yes.
They all said, I will. That's right. CRP. Yes. They finally changed their answer. And here's the big clincher, right? This is the part that just grips everybody at the end. JC, what does she say to everybody that says, oh, I will.
No, you won't. I will.
No, you won't. I will. That's right. She says no. Oh, hold on. I put a quote too soon. I will. And then I'm going to add here her chickies because she's a good mama. She's going to share with her babies. So she says, no, I will. And then she eats it. And then she eats it with her. She gives some to her chickies, her babies. And I imagine she's like, neener, neener, neener. I get to eat the bread and so yummy. And you over there just have to watch me and you don't get any. Ha 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 ha. That's how I envision her. Peter?
That's exactly what I did to my brother when I was eating cake last night.
Your brother didn't get a piece last night? It was too late for him, maybe?
He got a piece just when everyone was asleep. He came down like at 12. I heard him on the stairs, and then he got a piece.
Oh, he snuck a piece. Uh-oh. But earlier in the night, you were like teasing him, like, ha ha, you don't get a piece of cake. Ha ha. That's funny. I mean, that's what we do with our brothers, right? And sisters. I grew up with 2 brothers, so I know. Okay. Now we are ready to finally finish this story. So what we're going to do now, because we have some time left, I'm going to help you get started writing your second paragraph here, because I want to help you with this part. It's a little tricky how to put the speaking parts and how to say all of that. So if you typed your story, actually what I want you guys to do, just for the sake of time, I'm going to have you write the second paragraph and then you can start typing it later. Does that make sense if you type it? Okay. So it's going to continue, basically it's going to continue from your first paragraph, but you do need a new piece of lined paper. So go ahead and get a new piece out. And I'll just have you label it here. And then we'll just start working on the second paragraph. And you can add this. If you are handwriting your paragraphs, you can just keep going on the same page. If you are typing it and you want to use a fresh page, that's up to you. Peter?
I was thinking like after we finished like the second paragraph, or like until we did like a good amount, I was thinking if we had extra time, we can do like jokes at the end before it's 12 or like stuff like that.
Jokes? That sounds fun. Yes, let's do that. It might be after 12 because I want to help you guys get this finished, but that's okay. We can stay on for a little bit if you have some good jokes. I want to hear your jokes. Okay. So here we are to the second paragraph. We have little red hen grow wheat. And then we have an arrow for bread. So does anybody have an idea of how we can turn that into a full sentence? How can we use that or something similar to that to make a sentence? You guys have any ideas? JC?
The little red hen wanted to grow the wheat to make bread.
Yes, I like that. And if you guys want to put that differently, you can, but I'm going to write that. So what I'm going to do is skip a line and indent here because this is a new paragraph. And I'm going to put the little red hen wanted to grow wheat and make bread. So I have an idea right here. You guys can either copy this or you can do it differently if you want to. But as I was writing that, I was thinking of a good ly adverb to add here. That would be a good one for this sentence. And it's the word eventually, because she's wanting to grow the wheat, but that's a big process. You have to grow it, cut it, thresh it, take it to the mill. It's like a big process. So I'm going to put after and a little caret here, and I want to add the word eventually. And I'm going to underline it because that will work like a really good ly adverb, you know, so it's one of your dress ups. If you like that idea too, you can copy that. So the little red hen wanted to grow wheat and eventually make bread. Okay, after that, we're going to move down here now to the regular number one. Help plant CRP no. Anybody have an idea of how you can turn that into a sentence, Peter?
The letter, I forgot.
The little red hen. Oh, did you forget what you were going to say? That's okay. That happens. JC, you have an idea?
She asked them if they could help plant the seed, but they all said no.
Okay, good. Now that was a good idea because she decided not to use a quote. She's just explaining the question. I like that. And I also like that you said the word she, which is the pronoun. So we're not saying the little red hen again because we already said it. So that was a good idea. So you said she asked for help. Is that how you started it? She asked for help to make the bread. Oh, wait. She's actually asking for help to plant. I messed up there. I'm going to just do a line through that. So she asked for help to plant the seed. And then how did you say it after that? I already forgot, JC.
But they all said no.
But they all said no. Okay, good. And we know who they are because we mentioned them in the first paragraph. Oh, but said is a banned word. So what can we say instead of said? Maybe,
But they all told her no.
yeah, there you go. So you don't really need any quotations here. She asked for help to plant the seed, but they all told her no. And you guys, if you have a different way of saying it, you can change it. You know, everybody's story is going to be a little bit different. And that's when she did it by herself, right? So we could go on to the next part right here, number 2. It grew, and then she asked who will cut, and then they all said no here. So we could say something like, then she asked, oh, we already said asked. Then she, what's a word instead of asked? Like, you guys have any ideas? Or she clucked? What do you think, Peter?
Exclaim. Wait.
Exclaimed? Yeah, but it's a question, so it could be she maybe we could say collect because she is a chicken after all. She clucked, and this time we're going to do a quote because I wanted to just show you an example of this. So what you're going to do after the word collect, that's a way that a hen makes a sound. Easton, did you have a question or something to say?
Cluck or clucked is a strong verb or something.
Yeah, yes. Let's underline it. Good. Put a comma after collect, and then you're going to do a quote. And she's asking, oh, we forgot to mention that it grew, but that's okay. Who will help me cut the wheat? And then we got to put how they responded to her. Remember how we came up with different ways to say no? You can pick one of these on the back. And we can list them and we can say the cat, rat, and pig. This is another sentence. That's okay. We can add another sentence here. The cat, rat, and pig replied. That would be a good one rather than said, right? Replied. All right, now you get to pick. How are they going to reply? Which one of these do you like? Not right now. No, ma'am. Sorry, Charlie. Which one do you like, Peter?
I'm good.
I'm good. If you like a different one, put a different one. Notice I put that comma. I wanted to show you how to do this. Notice the comma right after that word replied. Make sure you have one there. And then the quote. And then the period. And the end quote like that. So let's look what we have so far. The little red hen wanted to grow wheat and eventually make bread. She asked for help to plant the seed, but they all told her no. Then she clucked, "Who will help me cut the wheat?" The cat, rat, and pig replied, "I'm good." The only other dress up you need is a who or a which clause. So I wonder if we could think of that for the next part. Because now she's asking who will thresh and carry. And they all said no to that too. So maybe we could say, let's see, how could we say this? Oh, you got an idea? Good, Peter, because I'm stuck.
I was gonna say, would it be better if we put all after replied? Like the cat, rat, and pig all replied? Or
We could. Yeah, you definitely could put that right here. All. You can add that in there. I like that. We used all up here, but that's okay to use it again. Just don't use it anymore after that. We'll have to think of a different way to say it. So then she's asking who will help thresh and carry the wheat. How about we say this? After she cut the wheat, she needed help to thresh and carry it to the mill or something like that. You have an idea, Peter?
Like, who will help cut the wheat and thresh?
Put them both in one question.
Yeah. I think
Thresh
so.
and carry. Yeah, we could do that. Did you have a thought, JC? No? I was thinking of maybe trying to go back to, rather than doing the question, who will help, of just kind of making it more like what happens next. But here's an idea, and I know we're out of time, so I'm going to let you guys work on this later, but you could use who in this sentence when you talk about the cat, rat, and pig who were all being lazy, or who were being lazy, all, you don't want to say said, so they all chimed in together. I don't know, something like that. So you could use who were being lazy. That was my idea for your who clause on this paragraph, okay? So when you go to write that paragraph, when you're talking about the cat, the rat, and the pig, you can say who were being lazy. All right. Well, we ran out of time, but that's all right. We got to start on it. You get the idea. Try not to use the word said. It's going to be hard because there's a lot of talking going on. But I like how JC had the idea of just telling what was happening rather than making it a speaking part. So you can kind of change it up a little bit like that. Okay. So you're going to write paragraph 2 and 3. You're going to finish the story now this week. And now that you're going to be done with the story, that very last sentence, you're going to make a new title for your story, okay? With the title rule. Do you guys have any questions about the homework at all? Okay, good. So now let me turn this off.